Hello, welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to keep it nice and straightforward. The title of the video is simple, right? WTF Chart of Accounts, which we all know stands for what the friggin' is Chart of Accounts. And that's what this video is all about, why you should care what Chart of Accounts means within QuickBooks Online. And we're going to go through exactly what that is and what that means in this particular video. So join me as we go and look at WTF Chart of Accounts. Hello, my name is Aaron Patrick. I am a chartered accountant, a certified UK trainer with a fancy new logo, that QuickBooks chap on the internet, head of accounts here at Bookkeeping, and also your friendly podcaster who goes live at 8:30 AM every single Monday morning for Ask the Accountant. Now, today's video is all about WTF Chart of Accounts. And Chart of Accounts is really important within QuickBooks Online because Chart of Accounts will determine what any transaction you put into QuickBooks, where it's actually going to appear, what the characteristics of that transaction is going to be. And that's what today is all about. So let's go straight into the product and exactly what Chart of Accounts is. So first of all, where is this Chart of Accounts area? Well, if I go to the accounting area at the bottom, just over here, look on the left hand side, you'll notice that next to it is Chart of Accounts. And realistically, when I look at Chart of Accounts and I go through the elements that are here, you should be seeing things that actually makes a lot of sense. So this is a demo company and there's loads of Chart of Accounts in this particular one. And we've even enabled the numbering solution, more on that in a moment. But basically, we've got business bank, makes sense, right? That's your bank account. If I go down here, we've got computer equipment. Makes sense, it's going to be computer equipment. But if I go all the way across, then I've got extra income. Makes sense, that's got to be to do with income. We've got sales. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. And then we've got accountancy fees, what I like to see on every set of accounts. And then we have bank charges, boo, insurance, postage. And as you can see here, we're basically just outlining what income, expenditure, and other elements is. Now, the official term for chart of account is a chart of account in QuickBooks Online is a list of all the accounts that QuickBooks uses to track your financial information. Use these accounts to categorize your transactions on everything from sales forms to look at your purchases as well. The chart of accounts helps you organize your accounts by type, such as assets, liability, income, and expenditure. And it's that element there that's probably the most important, but more on that in a moment. You access it by clicking on the gear icon in the top right hand corner of the screen and selecting chart of accounts, or using that left hand navigation as we've just shown. And you can edit, add, or archive accounts from the screen. So if you do need to get rid of those ones, you can archive them away from it as well. And remember, QuickBooks automatically customize your chart of accounts based on your business entity, but you can update it and change it to suit your needs. If you remember when you first started on QuickBooks, it asked you the question what type of business you are. And that type of business is designed to be able to go into actually making these adjustments as we saw. Now, that's the long-winded version of chart of accounts. But I think the easiest thing to understand chart of accounts is just to have a look at it ourselves. Watch this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new chart of account and I'm going to press the new button here. When I do that, it comes up with this screen. You're going to see this a lot. The first thing is the most important aspect of chart of account, and that's your account type. And what you can do here is you can drop it down and you're going to see a lot of options here. And if I'm going completely honest, this is the most crucial bit about setting a chart of account, but I'm going to give you a tip on making sure that you make the most out of this. For majority out of there, so I would say 90% of the people watching, then all you should be interested in is cash and banking in hand, which is if you want a new cash account, bank account, control account, anything like that, that's what you want to be using this one for. So where did you make the payment, or where did you receive the payment to if you've received income? Then you're going to have tangible assets. That's when you've got an asset that's going to be quite expensive. So think of computer expenses, think of having a new vehicle, think of having plant and machinery, them sort of things. That's going to be your tangible assets. If I'm completely honest with you, you don't even need to worry about that. If you've got an accountant, they'll recategorize that for you. But for anyone out there who wants to know about it, then tangible assets are going to be important. And then really there are other categories there, and they are very important from an accounting point of view. But realistically, what you're going to be interested in is income. Makes sense, right? That's the income that you have. Maybe other income if you really want to kind of split it out, but that's completely up to you. If it's something that's not normally related to your business, like grants or anything like that, other income can be really powerful. Cost of sales, that's important for you to understand from a business point of view. They are what we call your direct transactions and direct costs related to income. Greatest way of thinking about that is if you're trying to sell something, doesn't matter what it is, maybe you're trying to sell some widgets, for example, your cost of sales themselves are going to relate it directly to those individual sales of those widgets. So buying the widgets in the first place, for example. And the idea to determine if it's something should be cost of sales or what we're going to look at the moment, which is expenses, and determine between the two, should be that if you increase the quantity of your sales, then your cost of sales should increase with those sales. And there should be a direct correlation between your sales and your cost of sales. Whereas the next one we're going to look at, which is expenses, well, that's what we call our admin costs. And it doesn't matter normally how many widgets we were going to sell. We should normally have the same amount of admin costs up until when we might have to buy a new premises or something like that. But normally, the admin costs are not actually related to your income going forward. And that's how you should look at the difference between them. Now, it doesn't matter what I choose. Is it income, cost, sales, or expenses? And they're really the three main categories you're going to use in. Yes, you may need to do cash at hand or bank account every now and again using this cash at bank in hand. But realistically, when you're creating your own chart of account, you want to be looking at income, cost of sales, or expenses. Right, let's choose expenses then for this first one we're doing. Now, when you go into, you have the option to do detailed paid or detailed type. I'll be completely honest with you, just pigeonhole to the best of your ability. It doesn't make that much of a difference, really. There's a few kind of tax elements of it that may get messed up if you don't get this right, but I won't hold you accountable. What I will recommend you do is just try and pigeonhole it to the best of your ability. So for me, I want to start looking at telephone costs in more detail. I'm going to put it against obvious there, and I'm actually going to call this though mobile costs. Now, that means, now, when it comes to the name of what you're calling this is really important. This should be down to you and you alone to understand exactly what's right for you. I know this is an unpopular opinion among accountants, but I'm under the impression, and I think this is right for people who are listening and watching this video, that you are the people who are going to be understanding exactly what these different categories mean. So if we're creating a new chart of account here, it should make sense to you. Don't worry if it doesn't make 100% to your accountant or anyone else for that matter. If you can make sense of it and it understands for you, then you're the one who's going to get the benefit. If these mobile costs suddenly double over month by month, then I know I've got to make sure that I'm on top of maybe my data plan's not right for me or whatever the solution's going to be. But if I've just put it into something that I didn't really know what it was, like telephone or something generic, then it's going to make it more difficult for me to make those decisions. So don't be afraid to add as many chart of accounts as you want. As long as you get that account type right and you put it down to expense or cost of sales or income, then making sure that you just put a name there that's going to be relative to it is actually going to help you going along. Let's have a look what I mean. So I'm calling this mobile costs. I've turned on a feature within QuickBooks where I get to pick my numbers as well. That's completely up to you. That's so to make it easier. So maybe I've got a number that corresponds with maybe another system or something like that. I can put that in and then I can either search by typing mobile costs, or if my number was 123, I can type the number 123 in, it'll pop up as well. It's all about just speeding things up if you need to. Description gives you the chance to go through, choose what the description is going to be. And then is sub account, I don't know if I have a telephone cost as well. Yeah, telephone there, look. So is sub account means that this is going to be a sub account of telephone itself. And the idea then is it's going to make it really easy for me to be able to see the difference. And we're going to see what that means in a minute when I show you that in a report. And then I get a default VAT code. So if I know this is always going to be 20%, I can put it to there. And what that means then, it's going to help with the automation. QuickBooks now knows that when it sees mobile costs, put it to 20%. Be careful about doing that, because obviously if it's something that, like Amazon, for example, you could buy all sorts of things from Amazon, and it may not always be 20%. But if you're confident that whatever this category is going to be, then do make sure that it's put to the default VAT code, just to speed things up as we go along. All right, save and close. Let's have a look then what this means. So if I run a report now, and the best way to see how the chart of accounts are going to affect you and your business is if I go to profit loss by month. And I'm just going to do, if I do all dates, I might have too much data, but let's see how it looks. Yeah, it's pretty lot of data here. But as I go down here, notice what's on the left. These are most chart of accounts that we've got. And again, this is where I'm saying it needs to make sense to you. If you don't know what margin scheme purchases means, don't call it margin scheme purchases. If marquee hire cost makes more sense to you in this particular scenario, call it marquee hire cost. You're the one who's going to use this information more than anyone else. So please do start putting them in the right ones. But if I went to my telephone costs that we put in there, this is where we can see where all this kind of extra elements is. So at the moment, if I go in telephone, it just says £100 in December 2022. If I click into that £100 and click into it one more time, then maybe I'm happy that my category or my chart of account was set to telephone. But actually, if I do a little bit of detail, maybe it actually should have been 1, 2, 3 mobile costs. And when I save and close, you'll see why this whole idea of having a sub-account becomes really important. Because if I go back to my report and have a look then again at the telephone costs, you can see that, well, in May 2022, I had £391.03 in telephone, and I could just press this little button and all of my telephone costs are there. Or if I press this little button down, I get to choose the £100 as well. And I can see that actually related to mobile, where this one here related to telephone. And again, I could click in there. I can make an adjustment. Actually, out of this, Vodafone was my mobile cost, but the others were landline. So I can leave the others maybe, or create a sub-account for landline if I wanted to. But notice how just by that one adjustment there, and I go back to that area I've just looked at, well, straight away, yes, it was £391.03 for that month, but actually now it's been split between what was landline and what was mobile. That actually makes more sense to me, right? And I can have more confidence that's correct. I can maybe make decisions if it's something that's not quite right there, and ultimately it's just going to make it so my chart of accounts are going to be much cleaner. So what is chart of accounts? Well, you can see directly from here, it's the category that you want to show your expenses and income as. And you should be able to understand what each one of those chart of accounts mean. And if you don't, feel free to create a brand new one that makes sense to you. Every expense that goes through your business, you should be able to allocate it to something that makes sense to you. So WTF chart of accounts? Well, it's going to be the secret sauce that makes reporting make sense for you and your business. Don't be afraid to add some new ones as we've just shown. Don't be afraid to experiment with what works for you. At the end of the day, if you're getting real important insights into your business out of your chart of accounts, then you're doing it right. If the chart of accounts make no sense to you whatsoever, then realistically, you're not doing it correctly. So use this time, go through, make those chart of accounts work for you. And I promise you, once you start seeing them in your business and how it affects your business and what those cost categories mean, then chart of accounts becomes a whole lot less daunting. And there we have it. My name's been Aaron Patrick. Let us know in the comments below what chart of accounts you normally change. Is there any that you've added that's made a huge difference? Or are you confused by what chart of accounts still is? Let us know in the comments below. Might be worthwhile as if you are confused, letting us know why, and we can do a follow-up video accordingly. As I said, my name's been Aaron Patrick. This video has been a pleasure to do. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Really does help us be able to make this channel work better for everyone if we do have the opportunity to be able to get recognition that the channel deserves. My name's been Aaron Patrick. As always, this video has been an absolute pleasure, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.
play